Welcome to another insightful Live by Heart Today show. Join us as we have a heart to heart about renewing your mind with your hosts, Dawn and Wendy. Our show shall begin now. Streaming from Retro Earth Studio and brought to you by
Learn to play jazz piano like a pro, by a pro, with Jazz Piano Pro Essentials at jazzpianopro.com.
And wearehistorically.com, conscious human apparel. It's time for the next episode of Live by Heart
Today.
Hello, welcome to the Live by Heart Today, show number 62. This is a show designed to help you navigate change, uncertainty, and the new world we found ourselves in. We'll talk a little bit about science, a little bit about how our body works, a little bit about intuition, and we'll talk a lot about transformation. I'm Dawn Spiegelberg, medical intuitive and coherence coach. We're focusing on rebirth, and today's theme is renewing your mind. With me for today's Heart to Heart is my co-host, Wendy R. Wolf, professional transformation facilitator. Welcome, Wendy.
Hey, Dawn. We are almost done with our shows. There's only like 3 more in this season about rebirth. And my goodness, we really are circumambulating this wonderful process that we get to go through. And I'm so glad today to be talking about renewing your mind, being transformed by the renewing of our minds. I like to talk about it as like our mind can't make all the changes. We can only do it in our soul, but the mind has to follow, like the cart has to follow the horse. And if the mind won't follow the new into the new, if it's like wheels are stuck in a hole, the horse can't go.
So our spirit doesn't transform,
we don't fully transform. We can't fly. And that's what I was talking about last time. It's taking me like literally years to integrate all this new stuff. I'm doing it. I'm slow, but so slow by slow, I'm migrating. I'm a pilgrim into the new world. But if the cart won't go, the horse can't go. And I'm so excited today to talk about some mental models that help us understand how to shift.
In Buddhism, they discuss these, and they're labeled as hindrances. And they're all, there are 5, and there are specific words like desire, aversion, dullness, restlessness, and doubt. And when I think about this list, it really describes the human condition. They're considered negative practices of our mind, and with desire, that's the grasping, that's the wanting, and that is our nature. That's what marketing leverages. It shows us how beautiful our hair will be when we use this shampoo. It shows us how tough we are if we smoke Marlboros. It's about wanting to be something, attaining something, becoming something. And then, of course, the second one, aversion, is the things that we reject, the things that we perceive and we associate the meaning of bad or not appropriate. And it's the judgment that we have. And that's a part of what our mind does. Our mind is designed to compare and contrast, to measure. But when it doesn't come from a place of neutrality, a place of equanimity, It does have negative consequences. And I'm curious to notice the third one, which is, slothfulness, not being motivated to take action, not wanting to contribute. Contribution is important for us. And the results of that, they're really not positive. And of course, I have a little family unit here. So I look at that in terms of, oh, we have chores. And when my children aren't doing their chores, they're not actively contributing. And when they don't actively contribute, they don't develop their own sense of self-value. And so when you go from the idea of slothfulness and then attach it to lack of self-value, it redefines the outcome of slothfulness, of not being motivated, not contributing, and it puts a different flavor on it.
Is that originally? I thought I heard you say dullness. Is that the same?
Dullness, yes. Yeah, dullness is the same as slothfulness.
It's not engaged. It's not on the court of life. It's watching
Yes.
the game, not being in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, of course, then there's restlessness and doubt. And I see restlessness as more of a not being satisfied with what is, not being satisfied with what one has. And that speaks to the gratitude movement. The gratitude movement was designed to help us become present and be grateful for what there is and what we have, which turns around the ship headed in the direction of, wanting, needing to collect and compile and get more, not being satisfied with what we have. So they all really feed each other in ways that go beyond just the name, just the word we use to describe it.
And then doubt. Can you talk more about doubt?
Yeah, doubt is the last one, and of course, I think of the verse that says, "Even the sparrow has food; even the sparrow's taken care of." And when we doubt, like, how am I going to pay this bill, or where's what am I going to do with regard to food or shelter? When we doubt that things will work out, when we doubt other people, it's a particular vibration, it's a particular frequency, and that's it's the skepticism. It's, for me, it's a loss of faith, and faith is mankind. Faith is something to hold on to and continue. And it seems to me that that's what separates us from the animals, that we can lose faith. And animals just are animals. The squirrels keep looking for their nuts, and they know they're going to find them. And then they hibernate and then come out and get them, right? They don't doubt their ability to find what they need. They keep looking until they find it. So I see it as a real separation, it's what makes us different from the animals, all these things, this list that prevents us from moving forward, that prevents us from embracing the transformation that we went through. And we were talking about renewing our mind, and these things in particular they arise out of our mind.
Yeah, gosh, there's so much good stuff in here.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So one thing I would like to note about this is that these are not what I usually think of as pure thought. They're kind of a full body experience,
Yes.
It's
Yes.
there's thought and belief, but there's also emotion and survival and all these like it's all the full body experience going on here. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like the human stuff that gets in our way that trips us.
Mm-hmm. That affects our mind. You're making a very good point. Like all of these things, I see them as having a level of control over our mind, or of, if not control, a big influence on how our mind works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I haven't thought through it completely, but the whole, what the title of today points to is some Christian stuff,
Mm-hmm.
putting on the mind of Christ, and what is it? Be transformed by the renewing of your mind,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think that's just pure thought either. I mean, I think it's part of it. I've done a little looking at the Greek on it, but I really think it's beyond just thought as well. It's a whole, what I think sometimes people call mindset, which I think is beyond thought as well. I think that tends to be like our whole human experience. What do you think?
Yeah. In looking at it, we're talking about the New Testament, right? So what do they mean? What words are they using? Christ certainly said you must be born again. And that's new. When you think of a child being born, they don't have preset notions, they don't have an understanding of society. Absolutely everything is a new experience. So when Christ said to renew your mind and to be born again, that's pretty thorough.
They come together.
Yes. And when we're discussing transformations, in the last show, we talked about how being new can change our mind. There's some disorientation, but the world is the same. I still wake up, I still get dressed, I still brush my teeth. And those are the same frameworks that my mind was in before the transformation.
Mm.
And those things can take me back. Those things can catch my mind and cause me to return to the old ways of thinking rather than stepping into the transformation.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So there's one thing that I notice around hindrances for transformation, for being new, is our old momentum.
Yes.
And our old agreements.
Our old environment.
Yeah. And I'll just say, there's this concept of karma. And the way I read karma, it's not how everyone does, but how I read karma is that the momentum and the agreements that carry us along. And we make some of those agreements that are kind of against the happiness of our life.
Yes.
And we maintain momentum that makes our life not work. And this whole death and resurrection that we keep talking about in this renewal spring, what are we calling this?
Rebirth.
Thank you, rebirth. Is a chance. It's a chance to let go of the old momentum and the old agreements and the old ways of being and all of that. It's a pause. Like last time we talked about Gandalf, he came back new and he didn't remember who he was. And like he took up some of the old ways. He still wore a robe, but it was white. There was change.
Mm-hmm.
And like, this is a chance for us to do a real reset. I'm going to keep this momentum of brushing my teeth, but I'm letting go of the momentum of, snacking while I watch TV or whatever,
Right.
So
in physics, you're describing, an object in motion stays in motion until there are equal and opposite forces.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be a wall, right? That's equal and opposite. It could be, another object that causes it to stop. There's a crash and then they move back. And we're describing the equal and opposite forces. We're describing what changes our direction.
Yeah.
If we're headed in a transformational space, that's the transformation is different than the prior momentum and direction we were traveling before.
Mm-hmm.
And for some people, it's a really hard crashing.
Mm-hmm.
And in that is the renewal, and that is the explosion, the breaking down, the crushing, and then it takes something to be rebuilt and then to pick a different direction.
Yeah, it really does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I feel like the overarching picture for me in this conversation today is, can we allow the cart to follow the horse? The cart can't lead the horse, but the cart can follow the horse if it's not stuck. And like for me, that, can we engage these wonderful Buddhist hindrances, and for example, and allow them to not stop us, drop that ballast.
Mm-hmm.
So I have some more questions about these Buddhist concepts, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So when I look at and when I hear you talk about desire and aversion, they seem like equal and opposites. They seem like the same thing going in opposite directions. I want this, I don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the same, but like it feels different.
But it's the meaning we assign to it, and that's the crux of it.
Yeah.
We're assigning something, as being good and attractive and palatable, and something else as not good,
right?
As bad, as something to reject,
right? And
in that we are placing a judgment. We're comparing, we're contrasting, and we're giving attention to something from a predetermined place.
Yes.
Rather than a neutrality of attention.
Yes.
What Thomas Young really gave to us in his double slit experiment was something called the observer effect.
Mm-hmm.
And what we know is that when we observe, and I believe that is observing from desire and aversion, observing from the place of measuring, to compare, to contrast.
Yes.
That's when things change, and we don't see it in entirety. We don't see it as it's meant to exist. We flatten the function. We flatten the wave function of things. So we don't perceive it in truth.
Yes. Yes. So I just want to be clear. You're talking about electrons can behave like I can do it, a wave or a particle.
Yes.
And how when somebody's watching, photons, when somebody's watching, they behave like particles.
Which is just the physical matter.
Yes.
Which is just being shot through.
The holes.
It's behaving like you could think a cannonball, right? It's got mass, it's got weight.
Oh, a cannonball. I thought you said cannibal. I'm like, cannibal. A
cannonball.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas if nobody's watching,
yes,
they act like waves, and there's so much more potential. Anything's possible.
There's energy.
And energy.
It's not just a particle, but it's a particle amped up with an energy signature.
And it goes all the places instead of just like straight through the holes, like cannonball.
Yes.
And so anything's possible, and there's energy.
Yes.
It's wild, isn't it? Like this is, I think, a wonderful place to talk about where the energy that we're always babbling about hits science.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about this a few times. So it's so cool.
Mhm.
But it's the first time you helped me see it's not just there's all that potentiality, but there's energy.
Yes.
How neat.
Mhm.
Although the cannonball has energy too, but it's not malleable, and it's where it's going. It's going right there, and that's it.
Right. Well, yeah. When you say the cannonball has energy, we're talking about a kinetic energy,
Yeah.
right? So sitting next to the cannon, it has potential energy, and then you put it in the cannon and fire it, and then it has, kinetic energy.
Right. And the waves you're saying have yet another kind of energy?
Well, we're talking about photons that have a particular behavior,
Right.
um, you know, based on how they're behaving in the environment. So a cannon is behaving in the way that it behaves because of gravity, right? If we were to fire a cannon on the moon,
Right. It would go
it
farther.
it would behave differently
Yeah.
because the different gravitational forces and the masses and
Right.
yeah.
Okay. And so this goes back to what we were talking about. We're talking about what we want. How's this tie together again?
This ties together because desire and aversion are a part of our mental construct
Yes.
that is comparing and contrasting rather than maintaining a neutrality and being able to see things as they are.
Yes. Beautiful. Gorgeous. It's so cool. I mean, all this babble we're talking about of transformation and all these things, but it's just like, this is where the rubber hits the road. How much possibility, potentiality are we allowing in our lives in what is and what can be? How much energy are we allowing to allow that to happen? And we're just talking about desire and aversion. And can we let go a little bit about what we think is good for us, good in the world?
Right. Yeah.
The dichotomies, the attachment to the duality.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating.
With regard to duality, that's a great place to take a short break, and we'll come back and continue discussing the hindrances and how duality fits in.
Let's give a shout out to our sponsors. Thank you, We Are Historically, for making this show possible. Shop online at wearehistorically.com.
Hi, I'm Dawn Spiegelberg, a heart coherence coach. And let's talk about happiness and how you can keep having it in the face of crisis. How can you possibly live a healthy life when you're faced with crisis after crisis after crisis? How do you stay happy? How do you maintain your calm? How do you keep a clear mindset in order to know what to do in moments of crisis? If you need a happiness adjustment, if you want to learn how to be grateful at any time in your life, contact me today so you can experience heart coherence.
Hello, my name is Wendy R. Wolf, and I hope you come to my intensive. I'm really interested in working together with people who are big feelers, healers, also lovers, and leaders. These are the people that tend to be really paying attention to what's going on the inside and how we can help people from there, help other people. And I'm going to offer an intensive with interactive exercises so that we can become empowered as big feelers and healers and lovers and leaders. And I hope you join me. Please go to my website, wendyrwolf.com, and on the top I'll have a button to sign up. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Darius Wilrich. I instruct an online video course that teaches anyone how to play jazz piano like a pro with my proven step-by-step system that makes it simple to learn. Jazz Piano Pro Essentials. Learn the quickest way to start memorizing and playing scales today. Download my free Quick Start Guide.
Welcome back to the Live by Heart Today show. I'm so glad you're joining us. We're talking about renewing our mind and the hindrances that prevent us from making it through that transformation and embracing the newness on the other side. We were just discussing hindrances as outlined in Buddhist religious practices desire, which is attraction, and aversion, which is rejection. And that's a duality. That is embracing and pushing away. And the next one to discuss is dullness or sloth. That's I see it as a certain level of apathy. Wendy, how do you view it?
Well, I just found it's interesting, just like the desire and aversion are kind of opposites. It seems to me that dullness and sloth are kind of opposites to the restlessness.
Yeah.
And it's like the desire and aversion about what I want, and the dullness and restlessness. I wonder if it's like, can I be with what is?
Yes, I think that's all about, can I be with what is? And that's why in Buddhist practice, they meditate so much, because it's training the mind to allow us to become neutral and to be in the present moment. So the beautiful distinction that people who practice transcendental meditation don't make, that people who practice Buddhism do make, and that is, in Buddhism, they say, your thoughts will come and go like clouds in the sky, and you'll have them in succession, and they won't stop. And maybe transcendental meditation has changed, but they talk about emptying your mind. And in Buddhism, they say your mind will never really be empty, right? Because it's always coming up with something next. So being okay with that and allowing it to do its thing while you maintain your focus on the present, while you become aware. And then it's not quite so loud. In explaining what heart coherence is to people, I often say it's quieting the loud voice in your head so you can hear the softer voice in your heart.
Nice.
But it doesn't mean that you don't think at all anymore.
Right. Which is, I mean, I like you say, the thoughts start to have less power.
Yes.
And can slow down and not be so crazy monkey mind, but they still are there, and that's good. It's such a blessing to have rationality. It's such a blessing to have an analyzer, right? I mean, it's just like, that's what makes us human,
Right.
is the intellect. And so, hooray. Can we dance with it in a way that's healthy? So,
yeah, vanilla chocolate.
Yeah.
We need our mind to decide.
Right. Yeah. So it seems to me that it's a blessing, but it's not a blessing. The way I talk about it around in active meditation is that it's not allowed to drive. Emotions aren't allowed to drive. They're kind of strapped into the back seat like kids, we want ice cream, stop at the playground. It's like, that's nice. Eventually we will have ice cream and stop at the playground, but not now. Right now we're doing errands. Right? And so those emotions aren't allowed to drive. And for the people who let their emotions drive, it's very frustrating for the rest of us. And then also the intellect isn't allowed to drive. And that's the part that in our society is like, what? But like the intellect driving leads us to all kinds of not advantageous stuff as well, certainly in our soul journey.
It's true. And me, I've had this pattern of intellect and thinking and analyzing, and it puts me into overwhelm. Yeah. It doesn't allow me to be in the present and take the next best step. It looks at everything and says, how do I decide from all of this?
Yeah.
And, that's the seed of anxiety.
Right.
It's very difficult. So, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas if the horse is driving, if our spiritual identity or whatever you want to call it is driving, then the mind and all that we've talked about, it can follow And so the intellect then can be like, all right, let me set up a spreadsheet. All right, let me make a map. All right, I'll make an agenda. Okay, right. The intellect is awesome at that.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome at that. But like how to live and why to live and what it all means, it's like, it's a fast track to crazy in my experience.
Yeah, it is. It really is the fast track, honestly. A couple Wednesdays ago now, I had to take my dog to the vet. So I was up early. I had to leave the house at 7, come home, get the kids up, make breakfast, take them to school, which was on the way to the vet. It's crazy. And my whole day was just a race trying to get from here to there and here to there. And I missed some things and had to reschedule things. And that's the way my life used to be. And I did not like it.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't like it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And coming back from that, coming down, recollecting myself, letting my thoughts settle back down, and recentering was important and pivotal for making it through that day, because it was crazy making.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that anymore.
Right. And so it reminds me of the restless. It reminds me of like spinning, the spinning that so many of us do.
Yeah.
And we meditate and we are spiritually identified and all this stuff, but that doesn't mean we don't do anything. It just means that we do it with mindfulness and we do it gently and we do it like not driven people. So there's a middle ground there of not spinning out of control, but not doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard balance for me.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to keep going or stop.
Yeah.
Inertia. But like that middle ground where I'm alive, appropriately alive.
And that's a beautiful segue into the next one, which is doubt. When you're trying to move forward and you see your eyes on the goal and then something causes you to slow down or you have to go around it, if you let doubt creep in, you can stop altogether and not continue forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's interesting because these first two are coupled.
Mm-hmm.
But this one isn't. And what I notice from my perspective, it's not coupled because the opposite is life. It's delicious.
Mm.
The opposite is life and love and truth and God. And the opposite of doubt, like I see doubt as anti-life, anti-God, anti-joy, it's despair and resistance and death and it's all the anti.
The dark night.
Yeah, resistance, doubt, friction. So like it's unpaired because the opposite is actually the way.
Yeah.
From my perspective, it's life. Or however you want to say it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, these are really awesome. God, they're Buddhism, it's old.
Yeah.
Really good
and
stuff.
Yeah. Old and written down, and it seems to work because it's still around.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm so glad we talked about this. And I really hope that people are really blessed by this conversation. And if you are listening and want to give feedback, we'd love to hear it. Like, what in this have you tried and works and doesn't work?
Mm-hmm.
And I got distracted there when I looked down at my paper when I was talking, because what I'd written is doubt is also the opposite. I said a lot of stuff, but it's also the opposite of the practice of meditation, the practice of being here and now and with what is. And so all of this really is about how do we be with reality?
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them. What do I want or not want in reality? Can I be with reality or not? Am I resisting reality or not? Interesting.
Beautiful. And I hope people don't trip up about it being Buddhist or that we mention Christian principles.
Which we do constantly.
you know, because there are gems of wisdom and truth everywhere. We just happen to pull this one from there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks, Dawn.
Thank you to everyone who's watching us today. We so appreciate you here, and we'd love to hear from you. If our conversation spoke with you, please tell us what's on your heart by leaving us a comment. For more information about how you can live by heart, please go to livebyhearttoday.com. Like and follow this page and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our programs. We're here every week, Thursdays at 4:44 Pacific time. From our heart to yours, we're living a better tomorrow because we live by heart today.
And that concludes this portion of
Live by Heart Today!
Thank you for watching. View more episodes on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you, We Are Storically, for your conscious human apparel. Shop online at wearestorically.com.
Hi, I'm Darius Wilrich. I'll teach you everything you need to know about playing jazz piano like a pro with my 12-week online video course and downloadable guidebook, Jazz Piano Pro Essentials. Enroll today at jazzpianopro.com.
Thank you for joining us. Have a happy always. Visit our website to view more episodes.